the next conversation, as we are bringing parents, coaches, instructors, influencers, anybody who's able to provide information from their experience in the youth athletic space. Okay, I'm bringing in Miss Allison Decker, who hails from Texas. You know, they do it bigger in Texas. She migrates to Bradenton, to the beautiful beaches of Florida, down south from Tampa in the Manatee area. She has a few athletes in her house, but one that I'm involved with is her daughter, who's a Manatee Hurricane, a fantastic player, has been playing lacrosse for a long time. My daughter has played against her when she was younger. They were in the rec league. So Miss Allison Decker, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How is the weather down? It looks like the sun is shining over your shoulder. I guess you guys got good weather this morning.
Well, yes, we have some blue skies. We got some rain last night, which I was actually very thankful for. Hope to
Nope.
reduce some of the pollen.
Yes, I needed it too. My yard needed it in the worst way. This winter has been a killer for us.
Yes, it has been dry, but also the pollen is completely out of control right now. So I'd love for it to wash away a little.
Yes, fair enough, fair enough, fair enough. All right, so let's jump right in this. Tell me your experience with your children as far as them coming up in the youth sports space. What do they do? How did they get started? How did you and your family progress them through this youth space? And we'll jump in from there.
So my son started playing lacrosse in Texas. He was influenced a bit by some friends of ours that had played college lacrosse when they were younger. So they gave him fiddlesticks and he started horsing around with it. We did the whole traditional put your kid in every sport and see which one they like thing. Um, so we'd done soccer, basketball, baseball, and football or flag football. And I wasn't really keen on going to tackle football like they do in Texas at a very, very young age, and I didn't feel like they had enough brains to be starting to run into each other yet when they're that young. So I thought lacrosse sounded cool, so I put him in lacrosse. Um, he fell in love with the sport, started playing. I drug his little sister, which is Addison, who you work with, to the field for several years. And then finally she wanted to play. So I put her in lacrosse and she started playing. It quickly became her jam. We played in Texas.
Hmm.
The third one was drugged to the field even more. Um, and so we everybody started playing. I had 3 kids playing lacrosse by the time we moved to Florida. And then Hayden kind of lost his love for it a little bit. Addison's kind of grew. She was a better athlete than he was.
Hmm.
So he moved out of lacrosse and started working and doing all the things that, are expected when you don't stay into it. And Addison
Right.
took off and started playing club lacrosse, as well as playing for Manatee Wildcats. Then we did a little bit of both. We had a bumpy road for a minute where we didn't really speak of lacrosse, I guess.
Mm.
She kind of burned out a little bit, and I gave her that summer, and we didn't talk about it. And then she decided she wanted to play in high school, or get back into it, right? Keep
Okay.
playing.
Right.
I didn't really think we were going to play college lacrosse or have any hopes or dreams too. I just figured for something that she was going to do through high school, but it wasn't it for college, especially because we were kind of not talking about it. Midway through last year, she said, I can't imagine not doing this after my senior year. Like, I can't imagine graduating high school and moving on in life and not having lacrosse anymore. And I was like, okay. So we went full board down the recruiting side of things, with some showcases and stuff like that this summer.
Hmm.
Um, and she got an amazing opportunity, largely because of you. Uh, so she started training with you. She got her head in the game and her focus shifted when she realized that it was something that she wanted to do. It became
Good.
a completely different person. It was awesome. As a
Okay.
parent, it was fantastic to see because I never really drove the bus with my kids.
Mhm.
But I would drive the bus for my kids, right?
Right.
So if they wanted to do it, I would support them, but I did not ever it wasn't ever my idea.
Okay.
So her coming to do trainings with you was completely on her. Yes, we'd known each other and, been at fields together and stuff like
Yep.
that, played against you. All that. So um she's friends with another girl that trains here with you and
Mhm.
watched a lot of things, got interested, came, and I noticed a massive change in her immediately in this fall season where we, had finished up high school last year. She trained with you this summer some, and then we went into the fall season,
Mhm.
and I was excited to see her on the field because I noticed a change in her movements.
Okay.
A lot more felt intentional.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like, so now she's, a verbal commit, and, we're in our junior year and scrapping through this year to get through it. And then next year we hope that we've got a really solid team with some incoming younger girls that
Yep.
will fill some gaps that we need in our high school program.
Okay.
And all the while really looking forward to the next phase, and going to Nova and playing lacrosse there. That's the
You you said something, and I want to backtrack because there's two things that I want to hit on that we want to hit on in this episode. But you said burnout, and that's something that we have not spoke on with any other guests at this point. And it is a real thing. And each individual athlete is different. Some may go through it, some may not. However, that burnout, and you correct me if I'm wrong, ties into mental health, if you will.
absolutely.
Where, how important, and as we're in 2026, mental health is something that is on the doorstep of everybody, and us as parents have to pay attention to it because kids are exposed to more than they ever have been before. Okay, so I would like you to do your best as take us down that road of burnout and associate it with mental health, and let's touch on that for a minute because there are going to be other parents who are going to watch this and they're not going to be able, they're going to probably hear their kids say, well, I'm burned out, or they're going to see burnout, but can they associate that with the health, with mental health? What did you see, and what was your challenges?
Um, so I have a sensitive kid. She has a big heart. She has a lot of feels. She likes to be coached hard. We're not gentle parents in our house. We have high expectations. Um, but I also watch for some things. Some people, I feel like I talk to my kid quite a bit. So, um, you hear things over and over again in the patterns. And, she struggles a little bit with, you know, getting into her feels a little bit and how she can recover from those things. She'll self-proclaimedly tell you that she's very hard on herself. She doesn't criticism, like if you're saying something to her as a coach negative, she's already said worse. She already knows what she did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
She's already working on it. She needs positive. And I've watched her struggle with the mental part of the sport, right? And the burnout was real. We did a couple years at IMG, which was fantastic for her as far as skill goes. The
Mm-hmm.
coaches there are phenomenal. It just wasn't the right environment for my kid, socially and whatnot. And there was some burnout because there was um a little bit of a social and then a lot of, like, training, right? And for
Now
her,
hold
she
on,
would.
hold on. Let me jump in for 2 seconds. And what is your personal definition of burnout? And then we can continue with the story. What is your personal definition of burnout?
So for me, I noticed that she stopped, no more wall, no more wall ball. We weren't even really, like, after the game, I've always been, the parent that's like, "Hey, it was fun." I never really tried to criticize her on
Mhm.
anything that went good or bad or playtime or any of those things, but I just noticed that it was like short snappy little conversations, but not really like talking about the game anymore.
Okay.
Like, not she wasn't downloading much to me. She was just kind of
Mm.
shut down. The
Mm.
burnout was she was tired of the pressure that she internally had on herself and the
Mhm.
pressures that other people might have also had on her in a good way, but like it was just too much. When you feel like you're not meeting your own goals and expectations, and then you might be letting other people down too. It's a lot to carry when you're 14 and 15 years old.
Right.
So it's that's been
Okay.
that was how
So
I just noticed her stop. Like she just stopped. And like I said, we came out of ING and like I don't think she wanted to play anymore. I didn't say a lot about it. And we went through the whole summer, didn't touch a stick.
mm,
Now I'm not gonna make her, right?
right.
I would
Right.
ask like, "Hey, have you like, and it was like, "No." And I was like, "Okay."
Now,
Like,
when you got through the and this is the mom in you, so you're picking up on this. Um, what were the mom conversations, not the sports conversations, but what were the I'm a mother who has been 14, 15, 16 years old, who understands what you're going through, what you're going through as you're maturing, and then you coming to a level that she can understand you, that whole sitting on the bed next to you. Let's have that mother-daughter talk. Did you
ugh.
have those type of conversations?
Yeah, a lot of
Okay.
tears on both sides.
Okay.
My mom, I think I did gymnastics when I was younger. I started for the kid that needed to get the energy out when I was like 3, and it turned into a thing that I did competitively until I was just barely into high school. My mom used to always have this conversation with me at the beginning when it was time to like write the check for like the next year of gymnastics, if you will.
Okay.
Do you want
Okay.
to do this? Right. And it was
Right.
always my choice. Right. And then do you want to do this? And I remember when it was like, do you want to do this? And I was like, no. Right. And so I kind of had always had those conversations with her because things would start to come up, like the way that the seasons work and the way that everything you start signing up for the next thing before you're even done with like this thing. And I was having those conversations like, look, do you want to do this? And she's like, no. I'm like, all right. So why? Right. It's just
Right.
not fun anymore.
Hmm.
It feels like a job.
Okay.
I like the game, but I don't like this. Like, and then came there was a bit of self-doubt in there, like, "Am I even good at this?" Like, I don't feel like on the field I think a lot happened when she was very young on a team there where she was playing with girls that were much older with her. There was
Okay.
a lot of negative talk in her head because she's like 8th grade, and some of these girls are post-grad and seniors. She can't physically do what they can do. They're just 14-year-olds and 18 and 19-year-old bodies, like, they're just not the
Right.
same.
Right.
Uh, she was having a hard time understanding, like, me and saying, like, "Look, I think you're doing pretty good for your age,
Right.
for all the things, like, developmentally, I think you're doing really well.
Right.
I don't think it's fair to compare yourself to these girls, right? Like, I think you'll become one of these girls if you keep going, but I don't think that you
Mhm.
should expect yourself to be her, um, right now, right?
Right. Right.
But that was a mind mess for her to navigate through. But I let her navigate, and I was always supportive, I think, I hope, about navigating it, and letting her come into it, um, on her own, and I think it gives her a lot more drive because she's done all of this, you know, arguably, she's done a lot of the work on herself in here
Mhm.
and on the field, and seeing that I do have something, like, I can do something out there, right? Like,
Right.
and
Right.
and doing small things like coming to training and taking it into her own hands, um, has given her some power to on her own, right? And the
Good, good.
confidence is coming back on her own.
Right.
So that's for me as a parent, like, it's really cool to see when your kid starts to reclaim it, and it's because of the work that they've done,
There
right?
you
Like,
go.
I've always
Okay.
been supportive, but,
Yep.
like, she's come into it, and it's changed so much more than just her lacrosse life,
Right.
right? Because it translates over into her social life, her friend life, her home life, her and I's relationship. We had a great fall and summer of recruiting because as moms and daughters, there was a lot of extra time that just me and
Yep.
her got in a car and drove to Tallahassee or drove to Lauderdale, drove to
Yep.
the East Coast. Admittedly, most of the time we talk on the way there and she sleeps on the way back, but but we had good bonding, hotels, just silly, stupid stuff that you don't really realize is putting like deposits into your kid's bank of like
Right.
trust, support, confidence, like those conversations, like it's funny because you asked me about the conversations. I don't even know. Like we just had
Mhm.
conversations and they
Mhm.
were wholehearted, like, I love you, I support you kind of conversations and listening a lot to the frustrations and, it was fun when we went to the Nova camp. Um, we drove down and we had a meeting with the coaches and she was still in this like really weird place about like, am I really doing this? Right. And
Mhm.
she doubted herself. We went to dinner Friday night. We drove down, we met with the coaches on Friday afternoon and we went to dinner on Friday night. This super, Fort Lauderdale sushi place, right? With beautiful view.
Mhm.
Stepped
Yep.
out and like
Talk about it.
put her toes in the East Coast sand, and like saw what the water looks like over here,
Mhm.
go back to, like, walk in the restaurant, and she's, like, crying. And I'm like, "What is going on with you? Like, you just had a great meeting with these coaches." And she's like, "Am I really old enough to be making, like, next level life decisions? Like, it am I'm s Mom, I'm a 16-year-old. Like, how
Right.
do I know that this is what's right for me?" And I was like,
Right.
you don't know, girlfriend, like, you just don't know. Like, welcome
Right.
to I'm still 40 something and I'm still you never know, right? But
Right.
this is part of it. Um, she stepped on the field, did her deal with them at that afternoon and like all of us parents were like standing down there when they came off the field. She walks by me and gives me this crazy high five and she goes, "I love it here." And I was
There you
like,
go.
okay. I was like, there it
Okay.
is, like, but it was, it's a roller coaster, like emotions and like all these things, like you're going down and you're doing it. But like she was like, I love it here. Right. And I love the girls. I like the coaches. I feel good, and she's like, I'm okay, and she got excited again. And then I think you probably saw a crazy drive in her after that because she went bananas with drive and desire and it was 100% her, right? Even her big brother who's probably the least likely to give compliments, mm, they like to just criticize whatever. He was like, I've noticed such a change in her since I left for college, like
Yes.
she's different now. And I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, like he's like, I'm super proud of her. And I'm like, me too. Like it's a real deal, and there's so many aspects that play
Think
in.
the I think the environment matters.
Yep.
I think the environment matters. Um, I credit my wife and my son a lot because as we're before just obviously me and my wife and my son before we had the second one. But as young parents, as you know, there's no blueprint. You're kind of just figuring out, right? And you think something works, but it doesn't. So my wife never got in the way of how I used to coach my son because I personally, selfishly, had a vision for what my son could become based on the talents that he had.
Mhm.
And I selfishly was not going to allow him to waste those skills that he had. Some people are blessed with just great academic achievements, crazy high IQ, musical gifts. They can do those things. My son could shoot a basketball and throw a football. That's what he came out the womb doing that. However, the way I coached him did not work as it should for him. I was trying to force a square peg in a round hole. And my wife never jumped in the way, but she says you should try A, B, C, and D. And as I progressively tried A and B, C and D, things got better. And then I knew the type of kid that I knew the type of coaching I had to do with my oldest. And that's really how I got good with my second because I got good with my first. I got good with my first and then started saying, no, 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 that crap that I like doesn't work for him. And then I started putting all those deposits in him and it just like blew up. And now, it became exactly because the environment changed for him. His safe space where what he didn't want, I provided a safe space for him and gave him different type of goals to reach in a different manner.
Right.
And he responded.
Yeah.
So I think their environment matters. You want a safe space at home. Mom's going to always be my safe space, no matter what. And then when you go to Nova and you get around kids who have the same goals and you see you can stand out with them, and then that changes. And then we'll take some credit when you get into this training environment with other girls who have the same goals and you have a coach who believes that you're better than what you are, that changes your outlook on things. And now
Oh
you
yeah.
start going in hard.
You rebuilt her confidence, which was at a I won't say it was an all-time low, but it was in need of boosting, but not like in a inflated bul- like not real way, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
you showed her and told like, listen, I can believe in her all day long and tell her that like, yeah, you might have like you missed a couple, right? But like
Hmm.
they don't come off and you say these things, but eventually down the road, right? Something like, yeah, those two things like probably right couldn't could have been better, but here we are. Um but I still have fun. We had a heart to heart the other night. I was like, wins, losses, I don't care. I still have fun watching you do what you
There
do.
you go. There you
Right?
go.
Like, it's fun because now I'm not even really looking at it as the wins and losses. It's more about like physically out there, are you moving differently than you once did? Are you, um, I mean, I like for right now, like I'm super proud of her for no, like she's playing clean.
Yeah.
She's playing good. Um,
Good.
she's playing as good as she can right now, and she's playing clean. Like,
Good.
and that matters because that's your character. Like she's learning how to do things the right way, and learning how to move her body in the right way.
Hmm.
That she can be effective without being, you know, um, and a threat without being like an actual threat, right? Like
Absolutely.
it's fun to watch and it's been a thing to kind of get through and some kids are different. I have one that has big feels um and has some circumstances that aren't, necessarily the same as others that we have to work through.
Right.
And lacrosse has been a great channel for it. And, coaches and those influences in her life, like they're important to me. They're important to her. She's not a sissy. She's not a you're doing virtual trainings with her right now because
Yeah.
getting from manatee to you is tough, right? So you did the first one and I said, "How was it?" And she's like, "I like it. It's good." She was, "But I
Hmm.
still need to go, because I like when Preston moves my arm, or
Yep.
I need
Just the little tweaks.
this little tweak,
Yep.
that I can't get from the virtual, but the virtual is definitely a benefit to a lot of things. But she likes it's just, but so that to say, tough coaching, that's not a problem. She wants you to tell her what she's doing wrong, but most importantly, she wants you to tell her how to fix it, right? Like,
Right.
good coach
Absolutely.
requires being able to tell you, you're doing this wrong, do this. And kind of like you said with the A, B, C, and D situation,
Yep.
if you do this, then you will find the change, right? So, and she does, and those are rewards, and they stack up in that bank. So,
Yep. They stack up in that bank.
yeah,
I want to get a part two in this because we'll touch on the training a little bit more, but the mental health is when that conversation got going, um, it got good and I didn't want to stop you on that.
yeah,
So we'll organize a part two for the training.
yeah.
Um, let's close with, is there any final thoughts that you have? Maybe something parents can pay attention to if their kids' confidence is dipping, if they're burning out. What are some telltale signs? I know you kind of gave some when we were going through, but what are things parents can look for?
She stopped talking about lacrosse. She stopped doing things that she was doing that she did on her own. The stick was propped up in the garage,
Mm,
not moving, right?
mm.
Which wasn't normal for her. Um my kid, people laugh at us sometimes on the field. I can it's in her shoulders,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I don't know.
Like,
I know. I can tell how she walks. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yep.
it's in her shoulders, and then there's something she does, and she can be. I'm in the stands, and I can tell, oh boy, right? Um, you know, I could see it on the field. I can see it in her shoulders. I can tell it in the way she walks. She'll put her hands on her shoulders, and her stick is kind of or on her hips, and her stick
Yeah.
is on her side,
Yep.
and that's when I'm like, like, uh-oh, you know, um, but it's, she's trying to learn. And I think it's so important. It was one thing that they were really great, at IMG about working with them was the mental conditioning, and recovering from a mistake, whether, um, and, she knows she needs to exercise it and work it, right? Like, that is equally as important as the muscles in the body, is keeping, how do I recover when I take a dumb shot that I should have waited a little bit longer,
Right.
or I should have not done that, I and then to where I don't do it again. It's a tough, I mean, that's tough for all of us, right? In life,
Yeah.
making mistakes and recovering from them is uh not
That, that's
not
that that's
repeating them over again to the definition of insanity.
yes. Yes. But we were texting back and forth the other day and we're like, hey, this this is life. Like
Yeah.
now, how do we go through it? And the support system around our young athletes or our kids to be able to help them navigate. They don't have the life skills like us. And we wish they didn't have to go through some of the stuff that they're going through at such an early age. However, it's on the doorstep.
Yeah, and
So
how do
how
you
is
not put them on
right,
blast, right?
right.
I don't wanna have to go and say, you know, you hope that the coaches that are coaching your kids learn to read your kid enough to see those
Hmm.
small little, I think they're small, maybe they're big, maybe it's just 'cause I know my kid, that those, visible, things that you've obviously picked up on are
Yep.
things that other people can pick up on and say, "Hey, what's going on?" And hopefully they're a safe enough place for them to be able to say, "It's really not this." Right? It's
Hmm.
these 5 or 6 other things that are going on that have absolutely nothing to do with lacrosse,
Yep.
that are holding me back in my lacrosse, because I can't focus, because my mind is weighted down by a series of unfortunate events that I'm, you know, subjected to outside of here. And and not everybody is able to do that. Not every kid's able to talk about it to everybody. Society is not nice to these kids in
Mhm.
like judgment. Um, and some kids are going through very real things that are hard for adults, much less kids, and like, I mean, sometimes we just cry together about things, but that's, because I admittedly sometimes I can't process it all either,
Yeah.
and it's difficult to untangle this problem from the next problem, and them not be kind of this interdependent thing that's going on. So she's not immune to that. So, and none of the athletes are. All these kids are dealing with something
Yep.
somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, this was, as expected, really, really good. I knew it was gonna be good because how our conversations always go. That's why I invited you on. So just let me stop the recording. Give me 2 seconds. Say your goodbyes. Just give a wave, a
Bye,
shout out.
President.